To ruin. A fistful of runes. At first, the watchers on the cliffs of Viston believe it was a wave, a wall of water sweeping towards their shores, or perhaps a fog bank roused and motivated by powerful magic. Then the spyglasses of those in the towers reveal that it is neither. It is a forest of masts, an armada of Grendel ships. The alarm is raised, and the news spreads quickly, and the lights of the Heliopticon flash their warning. The true scale of what is coming is made clear. All 4 Grendel navies are here. The Shamal, and the Samum, and the Tempest, and the Golden Wind. They bring the thunder with them, the beating of great drums. Drums that keep time for those at the oars of the Asavean warships. The Leaping Bull, sunk during the failed attack on Mead, has been replaced, and more than that. Along with Venger's Blade, and Windtamer, and Balo's Grace, comes the Pelum Asav and the Deep Fury. 5 Asavean battleships, each with its own small fleet of auxiliary ships clustering in its wake, bound together by discipline and the beat of drums. Each of these 5 would be a force to be reckoned with. Together, they might be a match for an entire Imperial or Grendel navy. Together with the Grendel Armada. The runes click and clack and fall. Crossroads and swords and road. They do not come with stealth. So many ships are a roaring storm front, but they have swung out away from the shore as they arc westward, well out of reach of the defenders on the shore. The folk of Viston make ready for the attack as best as they can. Sentinels in the harbor, magicians versed in healing and in battle magic behind, but the Armada does not stop. It does not care for Viston, nor for the ribbon of salt. And indeed, the waters around the bay where the spires sit are too shallow for all save the lightest Grendel warships to approach. Even as the soldiers of the court of the White Fountain, already on alert, rouse themselves, the ships are gone, curving around the reaching headlands of Tamari. As the Armada gathers speed, there is a faint hope that the Grendel might intend to keep moving, to smash themselves into the teeth of Ruma's Rest or the Great Chain. Yet there is a certainty, a foreboding, heavy in the hearts of the people of Elos as the harbingers of the Heliopticon roar their alarm across Redoubt. They come scything around Rebecca's Leap, to the mouth of the lazy Koros, to Elos once more. Last time they attacked the port, they did so almost as an afterthought on their way from Madruga to the Broken Shore. They were handed an embarrassing defeat by the combined forces of the Citadel Guard, the Towerjacks, the Northern Eagles, and the combined garrisons of the Cargo and the Court. This time they seem fired up with a furious, terrible purpose. Everyone here knows what happened in Sirach, when last the Grendel and the Asaveans sailed together. Some folks retreat as the Armada rounds the headland. Most stay. They will fight to protect their home, to do what it takes to prevent their beautiful spire being rendered into ash. The runes spin and tumble, and the stars wheel overhead. The wave, the apple tree, the fang. Knife in the dark. The garrisons are on the move as soon as the Armada passes Viston. The sentinels of the court march east. The defenders of Cargo march south. The Heliopticon chatters and winks. The little garrison at Elos readies itself. The seers at the Tower of Light and Shadow search the shrouded sky for any beneficent sign, but on these odd nights the constellations are unfamiliar. The true stars seems to hide themselves away, and the crab, the looking glass, and the bond ring offer nothing that can be interpreted. In the past, the Grendel have sometimes essayed diplomacy before their attack, offering a chance to retreat and give them easy pickings. They do not do so this time. Horns blare, hundreds of horns, and the battle begins without preamble. The green sails of the Tempest lead the way, a spear thrust straight into the heart of Elos's defenses. They allow nothing to distract them as they break through the harbor defenses and seize control of the several lighthouse towers. Behind and beside them come the Golden Winds and the red-sailed Shamal. They too strike into Elos. A risky strategy if there were any ships to oppose them, but they must know that there are not. As soon as they have secured part of the harbor wall, the Golden Winds begin disgorging Grendel warriors into the spire. The Black Eels and the Bone Nautilus and the Hamsin join the attack. 3 whole armies of the broken shore. The blue-sailed Simoon do not attack the docks directly, not at first, but rather assails the ships docked there. Imperial and Axo vessels are mercilessly boarded and looted, taken by the Grendel where time allows. Only those trading ships flying the flags of the Sarkophon Delves are spared, that vaunted neutrality serving as a shield. The Yasavean battleships follow behind, and once the Grendel have begun to secure the harbor, they disgorge their own sun-bronze armored soldiers, their tridents soon bathed in the blood of Urizen's sentinels. They do their best, those brave defenders of Elos, but the odds are so stacked against them. They can only fall back and hope against hope that aid is coming. As the Grendel secure more and more of the harbor, and the reality that the spire will fall next becomes unavoidable. The runes bounce, spin, the red knife, the black blade, the lion come to rest in a triangle about the crossroads and the road chosen. Horns on the hillside. A long journey along the coast has brought the Fist of the Mountains across the river Koros, over the Korspan Bridge. Tired from the long march and the cold stares of Sarvos and Necropolis, the Scops nonetheless keep their spirits high as they come into Redoubt. An old army, the first army of Wintermark. Soldiers from the far northwest, supported by miners and engineers, regularly advised by clever ice walkers and proud Scops. The soldiers of the Fist are known for their caution, and for their ability to fight viciously in tight spaces over vertiginous drops. Centuries of fighting in the mountains of Semersok, Skarsund, and Hanmark will no doubt set them in good stead for defending the mountains of Urizen. That caution and cleverness is augmented these days by the divinations of the far-sighted advisors that march with the army. The mystics mark the omens, mark the fall of the runes, and if their advice is heeded, the Fist of the Mountains is almost never where the enemy expects it to be, but often in just the right place at just the right time. The dead follow in their wake, last to cross the bridge under the disapproving gaze of the stewards of Ethan's respite. In winter last year, the magicians of Wintermark drew down a host of winter spirits to fight with the Fist. The dead walked into Sato and marched with the Fist to the battle in Reynos and in the quiet grasses of Madruga. Their presence as the army marched through Sarvos and Necropolis did not go unremarked, of course. Not that all winter spirits still wear the dead flesh of the League. There are a few orcs of the Lysambrian hills among them now, still showing the wounds that killed them, crusted with dry blood. The spirits of the Winter Realm do not care where the meat comes from, and the death of the husk is of no great impediment to them. To Redoubt come the Fist of the Mountains, and the dead, and the ravens, and the jackdaws and the hawks fly ahead of them to presage their coming. The runes clatter like old bones, both lanterns light and dark, with the worm between them on the mystic's mat. They come to read out where they are not expected to be, into the teeth of the storm. Is this here the right place? Is now the right time? A hero's tale. The light of the Heliopticon shrieks a warning, and despite their long march, the Fist of the Mountains gird themselves and move straight to engage the Grendel and their Asavean allies. Nobody will ever know it for sure, but they arrive, their banner bearers and the sounds of the horns of battle at the exact moment the first Grendel sets foot on the docks. Sometimes the world is simply like that, a mass of secret knots that no mortal will ever see. Horns blare, and the warriors of Wintermark come to the aid of the people of Urizen, people they have never met for the most part, strangers for whom the heroes of the Mark are prepared to shed blood and lay down their lives if it comes to it. The mystics have read the signs, and the ice walkers have read the winds, and the veterans have read those symbols that are seen only by the eye of those who have known battle and survived. They do not charge pell-mell into the assault. Their strategy is considered, careful, but no less resolute and courageous for all that. The first priority is to protect the people of Elos, to give those that would be overwhelmed a chance to fight or flee. The second is to keep the Grendel from taking the harbor, or the spire, or to make them pay dearly for doing so. To delay them so that the garrisons to the north and the east can reach Naris, so that whatever harm is done here is contained, is ameliorated if it cannot be prevented. They are very far from home, and some of the rune stones are still in the air, still tumbling toward the mystic's mat. At first, the appearance of the Fist of the Mountains seems to set the attackers into disarray. They do not seem to have anticipated any major Imperial forces to be present at all. Yet they rally quickly, adjusting their approach to deal with the unexpected presence of 4,000 winterfolk. It quickly becomes clear that while the Tempest, the Shamal, the Golden Winds, and the Asavean warships are here to conquer, the rest of the Grendel forces are in a much more larcenous frame of mind. They fight, of course, but are much more interested in engaging in maggotry, stealing the wealth of the prosperous port for themselves. This by itself would be enough to ignite the fury of the Wintermark, even without the threat of the innocent people of Naris. Battle rages through the avenues of Elos, between the living and the dead. The Grendel are at a disadvantage because they cannot bring their full force to bear on the Winterfolk in one go. The streets of Urizen are wide, but they are not that wide. Instead, the cunning people of the Northwest employ hit-and-run tactics, having a seemingly uncanny insight that lets them avoid counterattacks set against them, an uncanny sense for where they can catch the Grendel unawares. An astronomancer might nod sagely and speak of the nature of the door, but the magicians of Elos have more pressing matters on their minds. It's quickly obvious that the Fist of the Mountains cannot stop the Grendel capturing Elos. They can delay, but the conquest appears inevitable. Plans are begun to withdraw, a fighting retreat, taking as many of the Urizen with them as they possibly can. Elos falls to the Grendel. The Fist of the Mountains retreat. Now for wrath. Elos falls, but the battle continues. This is no simple raid. The Grendel are here in force, and they are here to conquer. They spread out across the coast, and spire after spire falls before them. They plunder freely, stealing a king's ransom in crystal mana, dozens of magical items, and anything else with value that they can get their hands on. Yet they also establish encampments, seizing structures to turn their own ends. Their ambition seems to be to take the whole of Naris, and perhaps more. Joined at last by the garrisons of Cargo and the court, the Fist of the Mountain continue to fight them at every turn, to stymie their plans, to slow them and turn them back where they can. They clash with the Black Eels and the Hamson and the Bone Nautilus time and time again, buying time for besiegers and aspires to escape with their greatest treasures, their books and their scrolls, even as they must leave so much else behind. If the Grendel hope to see some of the magical lore of Urizen, their hopes are unrealized. It is just a matter of time before Naris falls entirely to the Armada and the Asaveans. Yet even that does not appear to be the full extent of the Grendel strategy. The far-sighted seers and scout of the Fist of the Mountains have unearthed one more layer of intent, more to this attack than just the desire for conquest and plunder. The runes are settling now. The scythe, the ship, the storm. Let this be the hour. The Grendel have always been clear about one thing. They will be the uncontested masters of the Bay of Catazar. They burnt the shipyard at Italia and the Freeborn Storm to secure their dominance. Their spy masters must now realize the potential inherent in the Grand Harbor at Elos, that it could quickly become a place where navies were raised, almost on their doorstep. Or perhaps it is just the wealth of Urizen that calls them, like carrion birds. Either way, they do not plan to simply hold Elos. They plan to remove it as a threat, permanently. To that end, they have brought with them a misshapen sphere of Tempest Jade, seized from the Temple of Tempest Jade in distant Raynak. A treasure of High Priestess Shivarn plundered from her stronghold and brought here to the shores of Redoubt. A thing of the Maelstrom intended to unleash absolute devastation against the harbor and the Spire, to absolutely devastate them so that there might be no thought of Urizen or Highguard raising navies here. A show of strength and power, not a crude burning such as the Asaveans forced in Sirach, but a careful and calculated excisement. The removal of a thorn. And if that attack also destroys the Tower of Light and Shadow, well, it's doubtful the spies and agents of the Broken Shore will be weeping over long with that particular annoyance dealt with. The talisman will kill, most likely, a lot of people as well. There is every chance it will destroy not only Elos, but may threaten the mouth of Kuros itself, and perhaps even the Necropolis, which, after all, is barely more than a bridge away to the west. Apparently, this is a price the Grendel are prepared to pay to send an unequivocal message to the people of the Empire. That they own the Bay of Catazar, and that ships sail at their whim. It would be easy for the Fist of the Mountains to leave the Grendel to it, to let them destroy the port, to kill those people, to unleash ruinous spring magic whose full reach cannot be predicted. But these are the heroes of Wintermark, and they will not allow such an atrocity to take place. This is the Fist of the Mountains, and while there are dark omens and dread grows, there is also hope. It will be no easy task, but it will need to be done swiftly if it is to work. Through the Sentinel Gate. So overwhelming has the Grendel attack been that it must be faced now, or Elos will be lost. And those who can say for sure, what else may be threatened as well? The omens are clear. The catastrophe sphere is being erected in the plaza at the heart of the harbor, and it is there that the heroes of Wintermark must strike if they are to end the Grendel scheme. They mirror, in a way, the Grendel attack. They move hard and fast, driving their blade deep into the heart of the Grendel occupying force. Their assault takes the Southern Orcs and their mercenaries by surprise, exploits the fact that so many of them are bent on plunder and keen to ensure that they, not their fellows, get the first bite of the apple. They break the perimeter of the Grendel-held redoubt and they do not stop. They have barely stopped since they left Madruga, and exhaustion must be taking a heavy toll. but they will not, cannot, let this horror unfold while they are there to take action. Lives are spent to get as many warriors as possible to the heart of Elos, back into the settlement they have been driven out of. So many lives. The Urizen Sentinels support them, of course, but it is Wintermark that must pay the price and take the lead. And all the Farsight Nomans in the wide world can only take one so far. Vicious fighting ignites again in Elos, but this time it is the Imperial Winterfolk attacking a Grendel-held settlement. More lives paid to get to the heart of the harbor. A cordon of sneering Asavean mercenaries stand between the heroes and their quarry, but they are no match for the blade of the Mark. More specifically, they are no match for the dead. The winter spirits clad now as often in Grendel husks as in Leaguish ones. They fall on the Asaveans, whose arrogant contempt turns to chaotic terror as the beasts start to feast. The heroes of Wintermark are right behind, and more blood spilled, more brave soldiers fall whose bodies will not find their place in the marshes of the Sovereign. At the last, the Grendel magicians and their lord themselves fight to keep the Empire at bay. As the dead feast, as it becomes clear, impossibly, that the Fist of the Mountains cannot be stopped, one of the Grendel tries to bring that ugly, squatting sphere of Tempest Jade to life. A crackling green glow blossoms within it. The last few runes land and lie still. The banner, the hound, the eagle. Only one more still tumbles. And then a two-handed hammer smashes against the crystal. Once, twice, a third time, cracking, and then shattering the infernal crystalline eye wide open. An unknown warrior of Wintermark with a great hammer and the courage of Igna Tarn herself flowing in their veins ends the Grendel scheme, breaks the priceless orb into 1,000 pieces. The energy within hurls everyone in the plaza to the ground as it discharges, and there is a moment of creaking silence. Elos still stands. The harbor still stands. The spire. The waters of the bay continue to surge. The Koros continues to flow. And the clouds that gather are nothing more than clouds. It starts to rain. The price, though. The price that has been paid. The last rune lands, and the silence falls. The shears. The Fists of the Mountain have paid that price, like the first burning falcon at Ishal, like the hounds of glory at the Towers of Dusk, like the iron helms and Isaila's dance under eastern skies. The cost of stopping the Grendel, destroying Elos, and risking so much else besides. The cost of ensuring that the libraries of the spires remain unlooted. The cost of slowing the Grendel, of confining them to Naris, of winning Urizen vital breathing space. That cost, that price, has been the Fist of the Mountains. The eldest of the Wintermark armies has fallen. The skein has been cut with the black iron shears that end all things in time. They cut a swathe through the might of the Grendel with foresight and irrepressible courage. They taught the haughty Asaveans to fear. They seized victory even if it cost them everything else. They will sing songs of the Fist of the Mountains in Kalavessa, and in Hanmark, and in Semerswak, and everywhere else as well, if the Scops have any say in the matter. Game information. Grendel forces have seized Naris and are 7/10 of the way towards conquering Siluri. They now control Elos, including several commissions there and the Tower of Light and Shadow. The Fist of the Mountains army has disbanded. The Grendel have launched a major assault against Redoubt along with 5 Asavean battleships. They took port at Elos and then quickly spread to capture the whole of Naris. They are 7/10 of the way toward claiming Siluri as well. As the Grendel have captured the great harbour at Elos, the Elosian architect and the keymaster at the Haitian docks have lost access to their ministries. The fleet owners of Redoubt have also lost the great work benefit provided by the harbour. They have likewise seized the Tower of Light and Shadow, removing the ability of the Penumbral Watcher to gain further resources. It is not clear if they have penetrated the tower, but it is no longer in Imperial hands. They are also threatening the Academy of Arms in Siluri, but at the moment, the shrine there dedicated to Adalmar the Lion remains in Imperial hands. The Fist of the Mountains army has disbanded due to the overwhelming force brought against it. The brave sacrifice of the heroes of Wintermark has stopped the Grendel from destroying the great harbour at Elos and causing significantly more damage as well. It has also ensured that the Grendel would not take Siluri this season, as well as Naris, prevented them from looting any significant magical texts, and ensured that the majority of Urizen in the invaded regions were able to flee to safety. While the Fist of the Mountains have put paid to the Grendel using the stolen boon of Siaka to devastate Elos, they are still in possession of the region where it stands. Without a swift and effective response from the Empire, it is eminently possible they will fall back on purely mundane means to achieve their goal, destroying the Great Harbour, and with it the Haitian docks and perhaps the Tower of Light and Shadow as well. Unless they change their strategies, and with the Grendel, nothing is ever guaranteed. These 3 commissions will be ruined by the start of the winter solstice if they are not dealt with. The dead. There are 1,000 winter spirits in Naris. Unfortunately, when they disbanded, the Fist of the Mountains were enchanted with dangerous winter magic. The ritual had nearly run its course. Indeed, the general seems to mention in their orders of planning to unleash them in Sarengrave, but with the destruction of the army, the spirits have been freed prematurely. It is not clear what this means, but there is a 1,000-strong force of unliving husks motivated entirely by the desire to feed on mortal flesh loose in Naris now. They will certainly remain for at least a season, after which they will probably retreat back into the Winter Realm. But that is by no means a certainty in a place as powerfully magical as Urizen. Indeed, there are still unliving horrors in parts of Zenith from last time the ritual ended in Urizen. Regardless, they represent an unknown danger. Destroying their bodies is rarely enough to do more than slow them down. The spirit simply finds another corpse to inhabit. And while they most often take a new body from those nearby, they can, in theory, inhabit a cadaver anywhere in the same territory. Hunger of the Gulls. A significant portion of the Grendel force were involved in raiding. A significant portion of the Grendel army were engaged in looting and plundering rather than focusing on taking the land or fighting the defenders of Redoubt. They have seized a significant amount of wealth, especially crystal mana and valuables. They have not, however, managed to claim any significant magical works. The Fist of the Mountains has ensured that the spires of the southwestern Redoubt were able to retreat safely. It's probable that this vicious raid has had an impact on the Imperial treasury, however. Redoubt is perhaps the richest of the known Urizen territories, and Elos has become one of the wealthiest spires in the territory. Precisely how much this will impact will have need to be seen. The masters of the Imperial Mint will likely be the first to know. And finally, Aelian Sweetwater is unaccounted for. He was involved in an extended appraisal of the historical lighthouses of the Empire. Given the significance of events going on in Redoubt, one final matter almost gets overlooked. During the summer solstice, the Imperial Senate approved and requested a sabbatical for Aelian Sweetwater, in which he intended to make a study of the Empire's historic lighthouses. The first historic lighthouse he was asked to look at was the fallen lighthouses of Nikephoros in Redoubt. Sweetwater certainly reached Elos before the Grendel attack, and was known to be looking for a captain prepared to take him and his companions to the rock where the lighthouses once stood. Unfortunately, nobody has any idea what happened to him after that. It's possible he died during the raid, or is somewhere among those fleeing the Grendel advance. It's possible he's fallen into the hands of the invaders, either the Broken Shore or the Assaveans. It's possible that he and his friends are currently sat on a desolate rock in the Bay of Katazar, with no way to communicate with anyone that doesn't risk attracting the attention of the invaders. Either way, it is very unlikely he will be providing his report on the lighthouses during the autumn equinox. Battle opportunities. The Imperial prognosticators have identified a major conjunction of the Sentinel Gate. There is some inexplicable astronomantic effect that is making it hard to discover details about the conjunction. The prognosticators have identified a major conjunction of the Sentinel Gate that they believe will allow Imperial heroes to travel to Redoubt during the coming summit. They are unable at this time to be certain precisely where it will open or what opportunities it might present, but they are doing their best to discover the answer. Apparently, recent developments with the Lock and the Key constellations are making it tricky to nail down any certainties here.